Welcome back to my channel, guys. I'm Mike Stallone, and in one of my previous videos, I made this 6S Arrma Typhon go over 100 miles per hour. I did that on a stock motor and a stock electronic speed controller. And since I posted that video, I've been getting a lot of questions asking, Mike, that car's got a stock motor and stock electronic speed controller. I've been trying to get to 100 miles an hour for a while. How can I do it? Just overall, what did I do to this car to make it go over 100 miles per hour? So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today, guys. I'm going to be showing you exactly what it took me to go 100 miles per hour. All right, guys, if you want to see more videos like this and you want to see more hooking and cooking, baby, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you can see all the videos that I'm going to be posting in the future. You don't miss out on any updates that I have going on, because I'm telling you, I have a lot planned for this channel, and it's gonna get even more exciting than it has been. Now, I put countless hours, countless days into testing in order to be able to get to that speed, and I figure I might as well share all the knowledge that I've acquired and that I've learned about with you so that you don't need to make any of the mistakes I did, because I made the mistakes for you already. So we're gonna really dissect what I did in order to make me go over 100 miles per hour with this car. Before I do that, I'm actually going to separate this into two segments. And the first segment is going to be free. What are some free things that you can do to get a little bit extra speed, to get that ride height, ride quality, up to where you want it to be? Things that that I made mistakes on, and things that I had to learn myself. The first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the wing. The wing on the V3 Typhon, it kind of goes up like that, so it's not good for drag. In order to reduce drag, what I did, and I'm gonna put up a better picture of it, was actually I cut here all the way down to here and then back up again, just to knock off that wall a little bit. And then I also took my Dremel and I cut out these two holes here, thinking that, because my GPS sits here, I figured if I had these two holes here, it would help with the aerodynamics of the car. And what do you know, after I made this change, changing nothing else, I gained 2 miles an hour on one of my speed runs. So it definitely works, and I probably could take off more. But one mistake that I made very early on was trying to run the car without a wing. So that's definitely a don't. Do not run the car without the wing. You need a little bit of the downforce in the rear. Once I got over 70, 80 miles an hour, it was like the car was skating on thin ice. I can't even imagine trying to run 100 miles an hour without having that downforce on the back. So definitely don't remove the wing. Trim it, make it a little bit more aerodynamic for you. Design it. This is where you could be creative. So moving on. The next part of what I'm going to be looking into is going to be your droop screws. I can't say this enough. It's so important to get them set right. You can get this car lowered so low without putting any money into your car, no modifications that require money to get the ride height nice. I don't have the tires on my car right now because I put the Hoons that I was running on my Limitless to run against the Mustang that's sitting right behind me. So just wanted to go over them, because if you can look at the car, how it's sitting, super, super low. Even without the tires, you can tell. And a couple of the things that I did, again, I watched YouTube videos, right? I read forums, I've asked questions, and it's important for you guys to do your own research as well. But I'm telling you, if you can get the front sitting just a little bit lower and the back ride height sitting a little bit higher, that's perfect. I'm gonna make another video exactly how to get to your droop screws and exactly how to set it, but that's another free thing that I did in order to get the car's ride height right, make sure it's going straight, and just overall a better quality ride. And the last thing I did was I adjusted my shock springs. So if you look here, to adjust, rebound and how hard the springs actually are, because you don't want them too soft, right? Your car's already sitting so low, so you don't want it to absorb too much of a bump, but you want it to have just enough to keep the car going straight in case you do hit that occasional bump or rock that's in the road. So guys, moving on to the section where we start having to pay a little bit of money. So again, going 100 miles an hour with a stock car, with a stock system, you can do it. It's definitely doable. And you don't need to go out and buy a new motor. You don't need to buy a new electronic speed controller. So I'm gonna call this on a budget. I did spend a little bit of money, but compared to what you could spend if you buy a whole system for the car, the motor, the ESC. So the first thing that I wanted to go over is your fans. This is a Yeah Racing fan system. I actually got it for about $30, but on my Limitless, I'm running the Power Hobby ones, and they're only like $23. So super good deal, definitely budget friendly. You can actually take some window net and cover the fans with it, you know, cut it out, make sure it sits over there nice. I took it off just because it was rubbing a little bit, and I wanted to make sure I was getting the full force of my fans, because when you're running with this high of gearing, your motor's gonna get hot. So fans are super important. Definitely look into them. I would recommend that, number one. The second thing that I would recommend, and now this is the meat and potatoes of you going fast, this is what's gonna get your car moving, hooking and cooking, getting you down that road over 100 miles an hour. It's gonna be the gearing, guys. So I tried so many different gearing. I looked at different pinions, I tried different center diffs, then I went to spools, and without a doubt, 100%, I would recommend you guys going to Jenny's RC, once they're available, buying a Limitless spool and a Limitless pinion. So that means that the pinion is gonna be a 27 tooth, and the spool is gonna be a 34 tooth, I believe. So that gearing is definitely 100-mile-an-hour gearing. You know, that's what pushed me up over 100 miles an hour. Originally, I did a 26 tooth to get 100 with a Limitless spur and spool, but I would just recommend going straight to that 27 tooth pinion, and that's really what's going to get you over the 100-mile-an-hour mark. So moving on, the next very important part is, obviously they're not on my car right now, but the tires. I experimented with a few different tires, and these are the ones that really work the best. The Typhons. I'm sure that you've heard of them. A lot of guys are running them, and there's a reason for that, right? They're great tires, there's a good compound. They're not gonna blow apart at 100 miles an hour. I mean, they could, but I haven't yet, and I've gone countless runs over 100 miles an hour after doing tons of drifting, making smoke, so I think they're pretty solid tires for going, and compared to some of the other tires that I was running, the car runs super straight with them on as soon as you get it dialed in. So again, the Typhons, I would highly recommend them. They're only about $30. And let's backtrack a little bit. Jenny's RC, it's a little bit over $60 to get the spool and the pinion set up. Guys, you know, we're not talking about breaking the bank over here. This is definitely on a budget, getting your car over 100 miles an hour. You don't need to go out and buy $300, $400, $500 systems to do it. You can have a lot of fun, and the best part about it is this motor is amazing. I don't really see temps super high. The next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the receiver. I don't have the receiver box open, and this actually isn't the receiver that's in it right now, but I would highly recommend. The range is just incredible. You don't need to get any boosters, and as long as you set it up right, again, it's gonna be a very long range, and that's what's gonna take to get you to that 100 miles an hour, because it's not like you get hit the full throttle and you're 100 miles an hour. It's a lot more than just that, and I didn't know that going in. I'd recommend that receiver. The other thing that I'd recommend doing is getting an antenna tube and making sure your receiver wire is up as high as possible. A lot of guys run the receiver out of the box. I don't, and it's fine for me, so I just keep in the car completely stock. I'd recommend continuing doing that. But I would look into cutting a hole through, right? So your antenna wire can come up above your body. Super important. Once I started doing that, I got longer range with the receiver that I was using. And this receiver is only about $40. If you go on eBay, and it delivers in 2 days for free, which is awesome. Always look for the deals like that. But $40, you can get a receiver that's amazing with no booster, and you'll be able to get to 100 miles an hour. The last thing that I spent money on, and this, guys, I cannot recommend it any more and highly enough, is the CNHL batteries. This is a 70C sustained, 140C burst battery, and it is incredible. When I was running my 2 Power Hobby batteries, I was going like 95, 96 miles an hour. Someone recommended this battery, and I jumped from 95 to 100 miles an hour. And then once I changed up the gearing, got the pass going a little bit smoother, I went 103 miles an hour. Go check out that video, because it is insane. Super excited to do that with this setup that I have here, especially because I did it on a budget. It's not like I broke the bank. Again, CNHL battery. I'm gonna go over a little bit more battery safety tips, but I do always keep them in these battery bags, these LiPo bags. A little bit of tips on the run, and I wish I knew this from the start. So when you're running smaller gearing, you could really get full throttle pretty quick and let it just roast down the road at a full throttle and just hope that it peaks a little bit higher than your last run. But when you're running these higher gearings, your motor's getting hot, your ESC is pulling tons of amps from your batteries, and the stock ESC does not like that. So what happens is if you get full throttle too soon, it will cut you out and your run will be way slower than if you were to take it slow. So I'm gonna do another video of a review on the Futaba 3PV. Great radio, but we'll save that for another day. So I was making my runs like this. I was going half, and then I was trying to use that burst energy and pulling it full, thinking that all that burst from the battery is gonna burst me up higher than my last run, but that is simply not the case, guys. When you're running the stock electronic speed controller, and like I said with these amps, you don't want it to spike. You want it to be as smooth as possible. That's why it's so important to go all the way down the road one way, set up, if you need to put your hands in the air, you do that, and then when you start going, smooth into the throttle. I usually get to half pretty quickly, and then once I get to 50% throttle, my trigger pull is so slow, right? So you don't want to be just hammering it like I was doing in the past. That's what got me over 100 miles an hour. On top of all this other stuff, it's the technique. It's not, you can spend all the money in the world, and if you don't have the right technique, you're not going to be able to do it, right? So that's something that I wish I knew right off the bat. But to kind of backtrack, we're going to go up the street as far as we possibly can, get the car stopped, get it ready to go, and then once you start to accelerate, get to 50% throttle pretty quickly, get the car rolling, and then slowly get to 100%, as slow as you possibly can. Like 75%, even slow down a little bit more. Now it seems kind of counterproductive because you just want to get to a full throttle and let the car haul down the road, hooking and cooking, baby. But you got to slow it down. You got to take it a little bit more slowly. Baby that ESC. You don't want it to blow up. You want it to work for you. So as the car's going past you, make sure there's no one around you. It's going to come by really fast. Make sure you're getting down the road, getting a good view of where it's going to go, and kind of anticipate it. And another tip that I have for you guys is if something doesn't feel right or something doesn't look right, bail. Abort the run, come back, let it cool off, and then restart and do it over again. The last thing you want to do is get a little bit wobble in the car, or as it's passing here and you have to turn your head, the last thing that you want to do is have it facing a curb, and then you have to counter correct it as you go over here, and now you're tumbling. You're not hooking and cooking. So that's another one of my tips. And then my last tip, guys, is just have fun. This is a fun hobby. Watching the car going over 100 miles an hour will almost always pull a crowd. People will come and ask you, like, how is it possible that thing is going so fast? I've had people say that it's going 200 plus miles an hour. Just because it's so little, it really looks like it. So have fun with it, experiment, use the tips that I just gave you, and I promise you will be going over 100 miles an hour. If you have any questions, feel free to write a comment, ask me. I will respond to you guys, and I hope this helps. So I'm gonna show a couple more clips of me running 100 miles an hour. It's a ton of fun. Tag me in videos of you guys going over 100 miles an hour, and again, I really hope this helps, and I went through a lot to be able to go 100 miles an hour, and I know that you guys can too. So I'll see you in the next video, guys, where we're gonna be trying to break the 103 mile an hour speed record, and maybe we might race this car up against an even faster car than the one sitting behind me. Thanks again, guys.